What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be going through those recently released Gypsy Rose County Jail phone calls and give you guys my thoughts and opinions on these phone calls. If you have not heard those yet and you want to watch them as they are without any commentary, go check back on my most recently uploaded video. But today we're going to be listening to those and kind of going through and picking out some of the strange things that were happening. But before we get into all of that, make sure you like and hit the subscribe button so you can keep up with anything I've got going on my channel. I also want to give a couple of super thanks shout outs to Peace in Christ Alone and Kathleen Fleck 3363. Thank you guys for doing that. I appreciate it so much. I also want to take a moment to say thank you to content creator Trixie Lane. She is actually the one that did the FOIA request and got these phone calls released, as well as the David Blanchard police interrogation. So thank you, Trixie, for allowing me to share these on my platform and for going to the trouble of getting these phone calls for all of us to listen to. I appreciate it very, very much. I'm sure we all do, so thank you for that. But let's go ahead and get into these county phone calls and see what Gypsy has to say. So in this video, I am not going to be playing the entirety of every single phone call. I'm going to be going through and picking out some of the parts that were a little bit weird or whatever, or were just straight up lies by Gypsy. Like I said, you can always go back to that other video if you want to listen to the entire things. The first phone call was with Rod's sister, Celeste, which is Gypsy's aunt. There wasn't anything really within that call. It was pretty much Gypsy just needing money in order to make more phone calls. But there was one thing that stood out to me in this phone call, and it was when Gypsy said this.
Basically hanging on by my fingertips, and my dad is the only one that I have left, really. And it seems like all my friends that I had in Missouri have abandoned me, and I'm really lost without my mom. All I know is that I'm innocent, and I know that on the news they're painting me up to be this horrible person that plotted to kill my mom, but it's not like that, and I'll explain everything whenever I get to Missouri. And
Gypsy says that all of her friends back in Missouri have essentially turned their back on her, abandoned her. You know, she's got nobody left, but which is weird because Gypsy has always maintained that she was not allowed to have any friends. Her attorney even went as far as to say Gypsy wasn't allowed to have human contact aside from her mother. So it's weird that Gypsy seems disappointed by all of these so-called friends turning their back on her after she arranged this murder of her mother when she wasn't allowed to have friends in the first place, right? That must have just showed up later on in the story as they created it. The next phone calls are going to be with Rod and Kristy, and one of them is going to be with Claudine Blanchards' sister. I'm not entirely sure which sister Gypsy was talking to, but most of these are with Rod and Kristy. Of course, Gypsy is going to start out all of these phone calls maintaining her innocence.
hi, it's Kristen.
Yes, baby.
Hi, oh my God, it's so good to hear your voice.
Oh, it's so good to hear yours, my love.
Oh,
So good.
I can't really talk much about what happened because my lawyer said not to, but I just want to let you know that Aunt Celeste had put some money on my account so I can call you, Daddy, or her, and I just want you to know, and please let Daddy know that I'm innocent.
I will, baby. And look, Daddy and I will be there when you get to Missouri, and we will help you.
Thank you.
We can.
Thank you
And
so
your brother and your sister, we love you so much. And I love you so much, Chip.
I love you so much, too, because Daddy still loves me.
Daddy still loves you. In fact, he's coming home tonight. I got to go pick him up between 2 and 3 in the morning.
Okay.
So next time you call me, you've got to talk to Daddy.
Okay, good. Somebody tried to get in touch with me because nobody else got through, and whenever I got arrested, I'm like, why is anybody calling me or trying to contact me? And then the stuff they say in the news is horrible and not true.
Oh, no.
So, of course, Gypsy is going to act like she had no idea this was going to happen. At this point in time, Rod and Kristy hadn't received all the details of this crime. They just knew that Gypsy was in jail and that Dee Dee was essentially dead. So, of course, Gypsy's gonna lie and act like she just got sucked into this and she had no part into it. Later on in the phone calls, you can tell they seem to find out more information about the crime. But pretty much throughout all of these phone calls, Gypsy is maintaining her innocence and that she had no idea this was going to happen, and it was basically all of Nick's own doing.
It's a complicated situation, but what they say on the news is not true. You know that I love my mama, and you know that I would never let her hurt or to be killed or any of that.
I know, honey. I know, sweetie.
And they have arrested the man that did it.
Yeah. I mean,
you know, he was my boyfriend, and unfortunately, he did what he did because he wanted me to come live with him. And
I'm so sorry that you're suffering. You know, that you're getting all this blame that the media is saying.
I know.
And like I said, when we get to Missouri, we'll, Daddy and I will be able to sit down and talk to you. And
right, and I'm going to tell y'all the truth of what happened. And it's really hard in here because it's like I've never been in trouble with the law. I've never been in jail. And
Gypsy says that they have arrested the man who did this. So she's sitting there trying to make it sound like she's the innocent girl who just got wrapped up with this bad man. And her language is very deliberate when she's saying this, in order to make herself sound more vulnerable and that she was a victim and that he just busted into this home and he wanted this. He wanted us to go together. He wanted me to live with him. Not we wanted to be together and couldn't because I couldn't get away from my mom. We wanted this, it's none of that. It's always he, in order to place all of the blame on Nicholas Godejohn. She's the little girl, she's the good girl, and he is the bad, evil man that killed her mother. She sits there and says, unfortunately, he did this, as if she didn't plan this out and make him do this after 2 years of planning and poking and prodding at Nicholas, brainwashing him into thinking that this was the only way. Which, of course, Kristy is not going to know that at this point because she just heard about this. And remember, Kristy and Rod literally didn't have a relationship with Gypsy whatsoever, especially as she got older. And I think we can all pretty much tell that whenever Gypsy turned 18, Rod was essentially done. There was no need for him to have a relationship with Gypsy whatsoever. She's able to position herself as this girl that was tricked by a much older man, stronger, smarter, and that she just didn't know what she was getting herself into and that he was totally crazy and that she would never ever hurt her own mother. She loved her mama. There would be no reason for her to want her mother dead, right? She never one time in these phone calls alludes to any abuse by her mother. Once. She puts all of the blame on Nicholas, basically saying he was crazy. Never one time mentions that her mom did anything to her. Of course, because that didn't come later. That wasn't the narrative at the time when these phone calls are being made. That wasn't the defense they were going with. She's very smart and she's very aware of what she's saying when she's on these phone calls.
And over here, it's like everybody is so cold, and then they showed what the case was on the news, and they're like, Gypsy accused of killing her mother with her boyfriend, and I'm like, that's not true. And then they had some inmates in here that's like, you're a mommy killer, and they're all part of me, and it's just horrible.
I'll never be able to take your mom's place, but
But you're the closest thing I have. You're the closest thing I have to my mama.
Yeah, and I'll be your mommy, baby.
Thank you so much. And I was wondering if I get through all of this and I'm able to get out somehow. I don't know if it's by trial or what, because I've never had to go through this before. Is it okay if I come and live with y'all because I have nowhere else to go?
Baby. Baby, you are welcome here.
Thank you so much. And I would not be a burden at all. I'm a good girl.
Oh, baby, I know you are. Trust me, I know you are. I know your heart, please.
Exactly. And I was thinking, if Aunt Celeste knows, then Daddy must know. Oh God, Daddy must think the worst of me.
No, baby, Daddy doesn't. Daddy does not. Daddy loves you so much.
Please tell Daddy that I love him too, and that and I love you, and tell Mia and Dylan I love them too.
I sure will, sweetie. And look, Nicolette is praying for you too.
Good. And I'm gonna hang up, but
okay.
I think these phone calls really just reiterate the fact that Gypsy knew she was gonna get away with this and believed it wholeheartedly. And even though she did get lucky with the plea deal that she received, it's like she already intended for that to happen. She's sitting there asking Rod and Kristy, can I live with you? Oh, I won't be a burden. She's wanting to prepare them to be ready to accept her into their lives. She has no concerns or has no sadness in her, like my mom just died. And Kristy's saying, oh, I'll be your mom. And she's like, yeah, you're the closest thing I have to a mom now, which is crazy to me that they even believed her when she's acting like this. Because, like, if your mom just died, would you already just be like, I guess you're my mom now? That is not what people do, especially if they love and care about their mother. You don't just immediately replace them. That is crazy to me. And like, as a matter of fact, even when my own mother died, I was like a little kid. And later on, when my dad started dating and he got pretty serious with this one woman, and I remember distinctly them being on a phone call, and she brought that up, like, oh, do you want me to be your mother? And my sister was around, and I was just straight up like, no. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you can't be my mother. And which I ended up kind of getting in trouble for just, I guess, being rude about that. And I was much younger. I was a kid. I was probably like 8. So the fact that Gypsy, even as an adult, you come to understand like those relationships can't be replaced. So anybody that has any kind of like love or any sort of feeling toward their parent, you can't just replace that relationship. And the fact that Gypsy's so ready and willing to be like, all right, new mommy, that is crazy to me. Like, nobody is like willingly ready to replace their parent unless they hated them like Gypsy did and wanted them dead like Gypsy did. Plain and simple. Even the parents that aren't that great, a lot of people still feel a great sadness about losing their parents, even if they're not perfect. So I think that just kind of tells you what kind of person Gypsy is, that she's so ready and willing to just toss her birth mother to the side that she's lived with her entire life. And again, at this point in time, 0 mention of any abuse by her mom. Only being a little bit controlling.
Well, that's good. Well, guess who's on the side of me and can't wait to talk to you?
Daddy?
Your daddy. Here he is.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Hey, Daddy.
Are you hanging in there?
I'm trying. I'm really, really trying.
Yeah, I bet.
It's extremely hard.
You feel tired?
Oh, yeah. And it's like being here, I've never, ever been in a place like this before. And being in jail is not easy. I say, if there's a heck, I'm in it, because heck is jail.
Yes, I know. It's going to be the hardest thing that you'll ever do, baby.
The next phone call is again with Rod and Kristy. Like, okay, I see a lot of people that are kind of like, what the heck is going on when Gypsy is using that word daddy when she's talking to her dad? And like, I get it. It's the same around here for me. Like, people will call their father daddy, and it's not that big of a deal. The issue is the way that Gypsy is saying it, and that is what makes it weird. She's pretending to be like a little child when she's saying that. Like, for example, even my dad, like when I was younger, I would call him daddy, but as I got older, I just call him dad now. And I don't know if that's something that like comes back full circle and they call their older parents, like as you get older, like in your 50s and your parents are really old, you call them daddy again. I feel like I see a lot of older people calling their parents like daddy, but even now I just don't do it at this point in my life. I did. So I don't really see like that big of a deal. Even my dad would call his dad daddy. Like, but it's the way you say it. It's not daddy, like how she's pretending to be like a 5-year-old child. That is what makes it weird. The way that she's saying it, it doesn't sound natural or normal. It's really bizarre. So like some people can do it, but the way she's making it in this scenario is just, it's uncomfortable. Like, I would never say that in the way that she is saying that. And I think a lot of you guys, especially those of you who have watched my channel for a while and my theories on Gypsy and her relationship with her dad and what I feel about that, I think that's what makes it weird. I think she has like a bizarre attachment issue with her dad and almost craves like a unusual relationship with him. And I've said that multiple times, and I think that is what makes it weird, is because we're kind of seeing it, the way that she's acting around her dad as if she's a little tiny child. Gypsy is complaining about how jail sucks, which I mean, like, duh. I don't know if she just expected jail to be like some comfy hotel stay, but she's just really bothered by the fact that jail's really not that nice. Which it's funny because Gypsy has always said that the moment she got to jail, she felt free. She got to jail and she got to prison. This was better than her normal life. So what's up with these phone calls where she's like, this is heck? Which, you know, again, why is she's saying heck, but like we've read those messages. We know what she says and how she really spoke, especially when she was cussing Nick out. So again, this is just her portraying that innocent little girl. This is a heck. If there is a heck, I'm in heck. Really just pushing that image of her being an innocent little child that can't say a bad word, or she would never say a bad word when you're literally in there booked for murder. Crazy.
And I'm like, if you wake up and they give you dry cereal, like a small cup of dry cereal, and they give me at least my seizure medication, and but I have to pay like $20 for it, and but I think it's $20 only once, and I take it 2 times a day, and then after that they give you another tray of food that is basically bread and food that I don't eat, and for dinner it's the same thing, food that I don't eat. So I'm basically living off of bread and cookies and water from a faucet that's connected to a toilet.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
how often is somebody medically, professionally examining the baby?
And then, of course, she's complaining about the food that is served in jail. But, you know, what's crazy is, Gypsy, I thought you were forbidden to eat food. So how do you know that this food is so bad when you should have honestly nothing to compare it to, right? If Gypsy was not allowed to eat any food, why is this food so bad? I mean, this should be like a baseline of taste for her. She should know no different. Oh, that's right, because Gypsy was actually able to eat food. I mean, she shouldn't be complaining if this is the first thing she's ever tried. But yeah, I guess dry cereal isn't as good as the name brand Star Wars cereal that you had, or those Fruit Loops that were in the cabinet at your house, which is very clear on the crime scene. But of course, those weren't for you, right? Those were for Dee Dee. But thank God she's able to eat cookies and bread, right?
I remember there was a medication that I was allergic to, and my mother would give me too much of that medication and then take pictures, show them to the doctor, and say, this is when she ate sugar. So I was having a legitimate reaction, but it was not to what she was saying it was.
And now what's interesting is we're needing the seizure medication. When Gypsy left her home after murdering her mother along with Nicholas, Gypsy did not take any medication with her. She did not take any prescription meds with her at all, in fact. And I think she took maybe some Tylenol or maybe some pain medicine, but she didn't test positive for any pain meds whenever they booked her, whenever they gave her a drug test. So why is it that Gypsy's all of a sudden needing these medications now? And so worried about the fact that she needs those. Did she or did she not have seizures? I guess we don't really know. But it's just funny how all of a sudden she's just needing her medication. And that came up during the interrogation. Like, I have so many health problems, I can't be in jail. Using that to her benefit. And that, again, tells you she was in on this medical fraud the entire time. Aside from the actual issues that she did have and that she knew that she had. The other stuff she was fully aware that she didn't have, and I don't think her mom tried to convince her that she did have those things. And then she says, food that I don't eat. Is it food that you don't eat or you can't eat, or just food that you won't eat? So which was it? Is it just because you don't like the flavor of them? Yeah, she's a spoiled brat. She's used to getting all the junk food that she wants, but you know, at least commissary has, again, more junk. But she was forbidden to eat snacks and food. She never got to eat any real food. She was formula fed through her tube, right? again, making up the lies as they go, as it comes along, because again, this was not the defense that they were originally going to go with. And you hear that in these phone calls as she's talking to her family. Never one time is medical abuse, even physical child abuse, brought up in these phone calls about Dee Dee Blanchard, ever. But as she's complaining to Rod, he doesn't really sound like he cares too much. But granted, Rod has probably been in jail quite a few times, considering that he had to be bailed out on the day that he was supposed to marry Dee Dee for driving under the influence. So he's probably pretty familiar with jails and what they look like. So he's not really giving her the sympathy that she wants. So she's going to pivot and start, sounding strong and brave and tough, right?
They have a nurse here, but that's it.
Yeah.
And they have a psychiatrist that I can't really tell her much, because if I tell her I'm sad or depressed or anything like that, they'll document it, and the last thing I need right now is to be locked up in a mental institution. So,
yeah.
And
have you heard anything about when they're going to bring you back to Missouri?
Not really. I had a video call from one of my lawyers, one that's filling in for Mr. Sam, and he said just basically don't talk to anybody about the case, that anything could be used against me, so even if it seems innocent. And as far as going back to Missouri, just hang in there. It'll hopefully be within the next 2 weeks. And it seems like every day seems to be getting longer and longer.
If you're listening, Gypsy is smart enough to know that she is not able to tell the psychiatrist everything that she is feeling, because she's saying that it will get you thrown into the mental ward section of the jail, and that's not something that she wants to risk. But what's funny is in her book, she said she was already separated into that area of the county jail before she ever went to Missouri. It says in her book that she was segregated into the suicide block of the jail in order to keep her safe from the other actual violent and dangerous criminals. Unlike her, they thought maybe she would be safe away from those real life criminals because she didn't belong there, right? The ones that pretty much have nothing to lose, like Gypsy, who has her whole life ahead of her. She also put in that moment in the book, the people she was with were crazy and playing in their own feces and making things really gross. A woman howling at the moon, which, did that happen? Or is that another play on her Twilight obsession? I don't know. But if you look at the FOIA documents that were released from Nicholas Godejohn, the counselor, the mental health professional that interviewed both Nicholas and Gypsy, brought up how different they really acted while they were both in jail in Wisconsin. The counselor said that Nicholas honestly had no idea, the predicament that he was in and the seriousness of the matter. All he could focus on was the safety of Gypsy, if she was okay. He was incredibly worried about her. And according to this mental health professional, Gypsy never one time asked about Nicholas, didn't care, never brought him up once. And that was while they were still in Wisconsin. So what does that tell you? She immediately flipped on him. She was ready to throw him to the wolves. So, I think that just shows you how much she did not love Nicholas, so therefore he couldn't really have that much of an effect on her, convincing her to do all these things, brainwashing her like she likes to claim. She never loved him in the first place. That only happens a lot of the times when you're really in love with somebody. She knew she had control over the entire situation the entire time.
I'm just so thankful that Celeste got in touch with me and I was able to get her number from my lawyer, because I didn't know your number, I didn't know anybody's number. And so whenever she had called my lawyer, I'm like, thankfully I can get in touch with my dad and be able to, try and explain things to him. And unfortunately, I still can't explain things to you on the phone here while I'm in Wisconsin.
I don't want you to explain anything, not right now. I have a lot of questions, obviously. I'm confused.
I bet. I know what those questions are.
That's the reason I didn't get out the boat, because, I really wasn't sure on what kind of relationship you and I really had. I don't know if I was ever spoken to you without your mama being right on the side of you.
Well, to be honest, Daddy, I understand that we haven't had a chance to get close in a long time, probably my whole life, but truth is I've always wanted to get close to you. Our part we lived, and of course you having a job, we never got a chance to have a real close relationship, and I want that. I really want to build a good, close relationship with you, and it's like I don't want you to ever think that I'm mad at you or that I don't love you. I do love you, and I love you in a way that I know that we're blood, but I honestly want more than that. I want to build a relationship with you, and I want to get to know you, and I want you to get to know me. I know that on the news, they're painting me out to be this horrible person, but you know my heart, Daddy. You know that, everything Mama told you is true. I am truly a good girl.
I find the whole thing with Gypsy saying that she wants a closer relationship with her dad, Rod, a little bit weird. Not necessarily like what she's saying, but just the way that she's saying it. Of course, she's saying, yeah, I know we're blood related, but I want a closer relationship. I want to have a normal father-daughter relationship and get what we've never had and build from there. But instead she's like, I want to be more than that. Like, it's weird and possessive and uncomfortable in a way that it sounds creepier. Like, I know we're blood, but I want to be more than that. Like, a little obsessive almost. And, she's, of course, sitting there in jail for the murder of her mother. And she's telling her dad, like, I don't want you to think I'm mad at you or that I hate you. I don't know why that's a concern of hers, or why does she think that he would think that she's mad or hates him? Probably because Gypsy did, in fact, go on a rant online talking about how he was a deadbeat dad and how she was incredibly angry at him. And we know that because of those messages between Kristy and Dee Dee, which were actually probably Gypsy, but it's all very weird. We can all tell that Rod essentially kept his distance from Gypsy. He no longer had to do anything to keep a relationship with Gypsy after she turned 18. And I think I've said this before, I know that just irked her, and it really started to eat away at her, and she became angry with her dad for no longer caring. And I understand what she's saying, or like at least trying to say. It just seems weird, especially because we all know how she acted, especially in those videos, and her relationship with Nicholas Godejohn and those daddy-daughter kink type of vibes that they had. It just has always felt like she's sexualized the relationship in a way, so it just makes it a little bit more icky. Gypsy says, everything Mama told you is true. I really am a good girl, Daddy. So Mom was being honest about one thing according to Gypsy, and it was basically complimenting Gypsy's behavior. If anything, that is the least true thing that Dee Dee ever said, given the fact that Gypsy did hurt her mother. She did shoot her with a BB gun. And for that to be, that's not a one-off incident. That wasn't the first time Gypsy ever did anything. I would put money on the fact that this had been an escalating behavior. You don't just go from being quiet and meek to immediately shooting somebody. There's typically like an escalation, and we all know that Gypsy had said multiple times that there would be weeks and long periods of time where they would be arguing. And again, I hold the position that if you're under a controlling relationship and you can't say or do what you want, you don't get to argue, you don't get to backtalk or have an attitude. That is not the way it works, especially in a parent-child relationship. Not happening.
And, I've always loved you, and I would never hurt Mama. And I know that you probably have some questions about, probably my health, and what happened to Mama and stuff like this. And I'll be able to explain that whenever I'm in Missouri. Just know that I'm innocent and know that I'm still your little girl.
Yeah, thank you, David. Appreciate it.
And I just know as soon as I just wanted to get in touch, as soon as I get to Missouri, I'm going to want to see y'all.
Yeah, we'll be there. Yeah, about that. We'll be there.
Okay. I'm going to hang out now, but...
And if anything tells you that Gypsy was in on this medical fraud con, it is that sentence right there when she's talking to her dad. I know you may have some questions about my health. And when I get back to Missouri, we'll be able to talk about it some more. Now remember, again, this was way before they were ever having the defense of Munchausen syndrome by proxy, child abuse, neglect, whatever. It was going to be battered spouse. So at this point, she didn't need to make up all these lies and narratives about her mom. She only had to say that she was essentially controlling and didn't want her to have a boyfriend. And Gypsy is so lucky that this did not go to trial, and they did not go to trial with that defense, because how do you have battered spouse from somebody multiple states away? She is so lucky, because that would never ever work with a jury. God, that would have been a nightmare for her. No jury would ever believe that she was having a battered spouse situation from a guy multiple states away, essentially no actual person-to-person contact with her aside from the one time. And literally the only time that she sounds emotional is when she's talking about the food or the cookies or the conditions of the jail. She's not ever sounding, emotional about her relationship with Nicholas, her relationship with her mother. She's only concerned about the food, the environment, and how she's being portrayed in the media. Which, it sounds about right with how she even is to this day. She only cares about looking bad in front of the media or what people are saying. She can't stand it when people say things that she doesn't deem as true, whether they're actually true or not. She wants people to follow her own narrative. Like, if that was me in that situation talking, I don't even know if I would be able to get a word out knowing that I was the reason my mother was dead, even if I intended for it or not. But just the shame or the guilt, I feel like a lot of people, regardless if it was like a life or death situation, like, you would feel guilty. You would feel like you didn't want to do it. But she has zero cares, zero remorse. She feels zero responsibility for the fact that her mom is dead. It's crazy.
Surviving? Surviving? Yeah, air conditioning over there? Air conditioning not working.
Yeah. I would let you know that I'm not pregnant. I took a test and I just wanted to let you know.
Well, baby, that means God just didn't want it to happen that way.
Right. I didn't want it to happen that way.
It's not the end of the world.
Right.
Not the end of the world.
Very true. And I'm like, I feel so relieved now because I was worried.
And if you done that because you was worried.
Right.
Stress does crazy things to the body.
It does. It
I know you know that.
Yeah. But I went to court yesterday.
I saw you on Facebook.
Oh, really? Oh, God.
Yeah. You were wearing with purple or pink glasses.
Yes. I don't enjoy the media attention. That's one thing I don't enjoy.
I know.
It's like it's bad media attention.
Like I said, if they got to pin you, just hurry up and get it over with so you can heal.
Exactly.
Figuring
out what our defense is, what our plan is, and now that things are more defined, my lawyer said that we know what defense we're going to go with. We know we have a plan because, like I was telling you before, I have a lot of memory loss because of the medications, and so I don't remember everything that happened. And they had showed the evidence, and the evidence was bad. It was in the form of text messages. Right.
A phone call between Gypsy and Dee Dee's sister. Now, I don't know which sister this was. It didn't say specifically. I'm sure I could find it somewhere. But regardless, it was one of Dee Dee's sisters. Gypsy sounds to be like she's in great spirits. She's got a great attitude. She sounds happy. They're laughing and joking. And like everything seems totally fine, as if she didn't arrange a murder plot for 2 years. She didn't just kill her mom and essentially ruin her boyfriend's entire life. Everything's good. She's laughing, she's joking, she sounds great. And she sounds great pretty much throughout all of these calls. Not a hint of real, genuine emotion. What's crazy is her sister immediately starts saying that they don't care what happened to Dee Dee. Before they ever heard anything about the medical abuse or all these scenarios that I believe Gypsy made up, she's dogging her sister hardcore. They didn't like her, and they make it abundantly clear they did not like Dee Dee. She didn't fit in with all of them. And her main reason is because Dee Dee was different, and Dee Dee wanted to spend more time with Mumsy, is what she says. So that reason alone is enough for her to deserve to be murdered?
Okay. Because I know that he was cheating on me, and that he was talking to his best friend about it, and And for me, I had taken like 2 Ambiens, because Mom was giving me her medicine too, and I had a bad reaction to Ambien.
Yeah, baby. Okay, I was talking to no. Okay, I was talking to Val.
You know, what's funny is that Gypsy changes the medications that she was on at that time. So again, in these phone calls, she's saying that she doesn't remember, and she's going to blame Ambien in these phone calls. But on Mommy, Dad, and Dearest, it was Xanax. She was on a lot of Xanax. And then later on, now she was a pain pill addict. So the pain pills made it to where she couldn't think right, and she was, kind of out of it and didn't know what was really happening. Then later on, we're still on the pain pills, but it didn't affect her decision at all whatsoever. So we've got Ambien, Xanax, and pain pills. All 3 different stories. Cool.
The painkillers, were you high? Did that influence what occurred that night?
I was, during that week, abusing painkillers. However, that was not something that affected my mental state at that time.
Interesting.
I was on a bunch of medications, and I know that's no excuse, but on Xanax, I felt like I had no emotion, and I wasn't thinking right.
All of these family members were well aware of the con that Dee Dee was running. They knew that Dee Dee was doing this and Gypsy was benefiting off of it. I mean, clearly, they saw those images of Gypsy at Disneyland and going on planes and all of this and that and the other. They knew what was going on. They didn't care. They never intervened. They knew Dee Dee didn't medically abuse Gypsy. They knew it. That's why they didn't intervene. Now, I mean, honestly, I don't know if they really did believe that Dee Dee was abusing Gypsy, if they would have cared regardless, because they hated their sister that much. But still.
Baby, I mean, you can't say you really loved her because you did in a way, you have it from a distance, like you said, you was behind the glass. But it's not going to hurt nobody's feelings if you want to just leave her where she's at. You try to do life over there because on the day to go, she said she didn't want to be coming back to Louisiana.
I know she wanted to get away from Louisiana, and I'm not really sure why.
Well, because she's that way. Everybody figured her out.
Because I'm like, I don't understand what was so bad about the family. I mean, I can understand how things got
different all her life. They asked me, were you close to her? No. Were you close to her when she was a baby? No. Were you close to her when she was an adult? No. You didn't like her because she was so mean. She was different. She always wanted to be with Monday. Well, you know what? Now you're dead. She's dead. Where she's cremated. Like I said, if she'll leave her there, we'll leave her there.
Well, I don't want to leave her there because for me,
And the sister is sitting there saying, like, people ask if she was close to her. No, she was different. She wanted to be with Mama. Gypsy said that Dee Dee felt like an outcast her entire life. Like the black sheep of the family, that nobody accepted her. So yeah, it kind of makes sense why Dee Dee would want to move away from a family that doesn't accept her, especially after the one person that did accept her, her mom, died. Duh, why would she want to sit there and be surrounded by family that doesn't even like her? Why is she expected to stay around those that reject her and don't like who she is as a person? Aside from the crimes or whatever, they're talking about her personality. They say she was mean. They said she was a vegetarian. That's a big deal. She always wanted to be different. The issue lies in the fact that Dee Dee was essentially the golden child of the siblings.
That's when we realized Dee Dee's doing to Gypsy what Mom did to her.
When Dee Dee was born, my mom said that she came along with all these sicknesses, heart murmur and stuff like that.
My mom would always make us go play outside, and it was like, oh, well, your sister's not feeling good, your sister's got an upset stomach, she's got a headache, y'all go play outside, be quiet, leave her alone, As she got older, Dee Dee couldn't get excited, Dee Dee couldn't jump around, she couldn't play outside, she couldn't overheat herself.
She was not allowed to assist with chores. If Dee Dee didn't want to do it, well, then she didn't have to because the heart murmur. It was used like a crutch for a long time. But Dee Dee was basically not as sick as it was to believe. We didn't get to go to college, but Dee Dee went to college. We didn't get a car when we were growing up. Dee Dee got the car. If you wanted something, you had to go out and earn it. But Dee Dee just wanted it and got it.
It made them jealous. And that is something that is not uncommon. A lot of the times there are parents that will pick a favorite child and they will pour all the love and effort into that one child, and that will breed a resentment amongst all of the siblings. It happens all of the time, even in my own family. So then the siblings start seeing that and they start to grow bitter. Sometimes siblings just don't get along with one another, or one just has totally different views and you just can't get along. Even that's like how it is in my family. Like, it's not as bad now that we're grown up, but there were times where, yeah, like we don't have a relationship really at all. But even if something was to happen to them, I would feel sad. I wouldn't be happy, regardless of how close we are. And like you notice, none of the siblings ever say that Dee Dee stole from them, but they just hated her because she was the favorite. And that's what it boils down to. It's jealousy. But still, does that jealousy overrule the fact that that's still your sister? So I think some people, whenever they're saying, yeah, Dee Dee was bad, Dee Dee bounced checks, she wrote hot checks, she stole from Hobby Lobby. Imagine yourself as that was your sibling. Does that mean they deserve to die and that you wouldn't care? Yes, I can understand people looking at it from the like outside perspective, but just put yourself in the family for a second and see, would that be your opinion still? Yeah, that doesn't make Dee Dee a good person because she wrote hot checks. I'm sure a lot of us have overdrafted our bank accounts a few times. I mean, that's why they make overdraft protection nowadays. But still, does those behaviors mean she is a terrible person? That's for you to decide, and we all have different opinions on that. But if I was Dee Dee's sister, I feel like those behaviors wouldn't warrant me not caring about her death. But looking at it from the outside, yeah, I don't think Dee Dee made the best choices as a mother. I can't sit there and say that I want to model my mothering after Dee Dee Blanchard. So it can be multiple things that are true at the same time. Like, personally, my opinion has like a little bit of everything. Do I think Dee Dee deserved to be murdered? No. Do I think she was a perfect mother? No. Do I think she tried hard for Gypsy? Yeah, but did she go about it the wrong way? Yeah. You know, it's multiple things, and I'm not just one way or the other. But, you know, some people are, and that's okay. I'm not here to try to like convince you of one thing or the other, and I think that's something that we can all discuss and disagree or agree on.
You know, possible. I was thinking, if these people over there knew you can walk, why are they making it sound so bad to us? Like, you know, like, wow, y'all knew she could walk and y'all didn't let nobody go by, y'all didn't try to do anything about it. It's like, y'all don't understand. Every time we try to call, because we were planning on coming to Christmas, every time we were planning on coming, she said, well, call first. You might be at the hospital, you might be at clinic, and then I had to notice that the house windows was all painted black. I noticed that. But people making such a big thing about it. I mean, wow. The house was past. I mean,
I didn't even know anyone knew. That's the thing. My lawyer said that one of the neighbors knew, and I'm like, what?
So wearing that dress because you was in dance. She didn't walk. I wanted her to dance. So I don't know.
It's just crazy.
It is. Like I said, you're going to be 24.
Yeah, tomorrow.
On Monday, you're going to be an old lady. I'm 52.
Oh, you're not old.
Not at all.
No.
So that's Monday. Well, you know how it is. That lawyer talks to us August the 3rd. You probably going to be witnesses. So I might get to see you then.
Yeah. Well, you know that my mom was only lying about my age. She was lying about hers too, you know.
Well, she's 48. She was born in 67. We have a birth certificate.
She's not saying that she was born in 1975.
Well, I guess not.
And my younger sister, so of course you would know.
No. Yeah. She was born the same year as my husband. What, Davey?
Did you see the news coverage on, it's a TV station here, but it's called KY3.com? Crime. That was my reaction.
Yeah, I know. That's the one I saw.
That's my reaction.
Yeah.
That's my reaction whenever they were showing pictures.
Yeah, they showed all kinds of pictures.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they said she was stabbed 12 times.
12? Are you kidding me?
12 times.
Oh my God, I didn't even know that.
Yep.
And some of it was a big blur. And that's the hard part, is trying to tell the truth and having my ear after that kind of make the real truth.
Stayed in the house. It said it's trying to paint a really ugly picture because it said you stayed in the house till the next morning. So
no.
You stayed in the house with the body.
That's not true.
The next morning, you went from motel, from the house, then you went to Walmart. So got there, went to Walmart, then you caught a bus.
It was over the guys, remember?
In jail. Some of it's true, some of it's not. It's like crazy. And the thing that people are trying to make out, they're like, I got linked on a Christian dating website. And my mom didn't know I was on the website because, she would never let me date. So anyway, I know she would have made some mistakes. And anyway, so I went off to find a boyfriend on my own on the internet. And I thought a Christian site would be the best,
No, you look on the other side, you see. No, and I work for some people, but some people it don't. And you got the bad one. I got the job. If you would have ran away, on your own, then the whole world would have been looking for you. Okay. But like you and Manny was saying today, and the worst thing about this, and Tiffany was saying it too, the worst thing about this is that you catch all the heat.
I'm confused that my lawyer says that there are supporters out there too.
Yeah, they got some good ones and they got some bad ones. That they need to be fried, put them in like a chair, but stuff like that. I mean, no. I mean, they're saying that you should have good support from different people, but they're not understanding how come we never went. They don't understand. We have to work. Right. There's nothing we can do. You gotta have the financial capability to do this. We don't. Like, I would get on a plane in a heartbeat. I know. I don't have that. I don't have that money, baby. I know. I don't know what he does, really. No, nobody. You can get started saying, well, what about the cruises? Brown show, I see y'all have expensive toys. Yeah, they do. I don't. Well, tell y'all hard. I said, we had to voluntarily surrender our heart a year ago. Now what? And they go on and on. They don't understand. They think they know better than us. They were there. A lot of people are on the line. Yeah. You eat? Huh? Do you eat? I do. Yay! I like cheeseburgers. Awesome! And she was a vegetarian, her, so they would yeah, no. I like cheeseburgers. And I actually was eating that, but actually she was eating, and I don't even know who asked me that.
Sister is running Dee Dee down because she wanted to be a vegetarian. I found that so funny. She's asking Gypsy if she eats meat, and Gypsy's like, yeah, I eat meat, which, Gypsy, you're eating? That's crazy. But, like, it's a huge deal for the sister for Dee Dee to decide to be a vegetarian, which, perhaps Dee Dee decided to be a vegetarian because her siblings and her family already thought she was weird and kind of treated her like an outcast. So maybe Dee Dee started embracing those characteristics or those things that would make her an outcast anyway, so at least there would be a better reason. I've seen people do that. They'll kind of gravitate towards things that, are different than everyone else just because they're already being treated differently. I mean, who cares? If you look at the crime scene photos, there was like sausage and different meats at their house. So Dee Dee did eat meat, but it's funny how she brings it up in that moment as if like, ugh, she's so weird. And I get some people are like that. They're totally anti-vegan or whatever, but I mean, she was killed. We can't let that go.
Pretty good.
Her mama was a little bit like her.
Yeah, her mama too. Her mama was a shoplifter and all kind of stuff. I remember time she had to go to court for shoplifting and all that
She'd
stuff.
go to the washateria, she'd steal the people's clothes. She had stolen how much money from your daddy?
Oh, before we got married, she had stolen, I think it's $3,000 or $4,000 from my daddy.
I think ever since my grandmother died, Dee Dee kind of went off the deep end.
The last call is, again, with Rod and Kristy. This must be taking place after they read those text messages that Gypsy was sending the week before the murder. And, of course, she's got to play it up. Like, I had no idea what I was even doing. I was on drugs. I was on prescription medication. I don't even remember any of it.
Hey, sweetie.
Earlier, and stuff that I didn't even remember seeing.
Yeah. I know. I mean,
what was I thinking,
Yeah. I can understand that.
I'm shaken up, but it's like, I didn't even know the details of what he had done. And then to hear it, it's traumatizing on me. And like I never asked him to be that gruesome.
Yeah. But we'll get through it, baby,
How can y'all possibly still be so supportive after knowing what y'all found out today?
Baby, because we love you. And it's unconditional love. We love you no matter what, sweetie.
Thank you. At this point, I know that.
You're here for the long run. You're stuck with us now.
That's good. I want to be stuck. I want to be stuck.
Good. We'll get through it.
Yeah. And I kind of took a moment to understand that I am a part of it. And even though I didn't mean to be, I know that I've taken a lot of medication, so I can't remember that clearly how things happened. And
Right, I understand that.
all the things I said under that medication, and, you know, it's stuff that I wouldn't normally say or do. Situation, and I came into the booth after y'all left, and he's like, it's okay, we have a plan, no matter, we had 2 plans for if you were involved and if you're not involved, and, you know, it just happens to be the one where you're involved, and we have a defense for that, you know, they're prepared for that.
Yeah, we went there after and talked to them, and there is a plan in motion.
Yeah.
You know, but
I put my trust in him. I had to kind of laugh when he's like, do you work for Facebook? Do you know how it works?
yeah, but just know that we are still behind you 100%.
Thank you.
We're never going to turn our backs.
At this point, I honestly think that the worst of it has come out. If there's stuff on Facebook, it wouldn't be any worse than what has already been said in those texts.
Really, I think the same thing as you.
And I'm like, you know, I think I was on Facebook while texting them that night, so it might, you know, some things might be on Facebook, but it'll come out, and I'm like, and it can't be any worse than what was in those texts, so.
No, sweetie, I don't think it can.
I never asked him to be that gruesome, and, you know, that means she did in fact ask him, like, I don't think you have to specify when you're murdering someone, like, yeah, make it extra bloody. Like, you're already killing somebody and you know it's going to be bad, so why would you say that anyway? But she's just playing them. She isn't sad about anything, and she's lying and avoiding accountability the entire time in every single one of these phone calls. She's literally sitting there acting like, I didn't even want to be a part of this. Like, you orchestrated it. What are you talking about? You didn't want to be a part of this.
Hey, Brownie. But later he will be eating me.
At that time, she still wasn't trusting really anyone. She was still not telling Mike everything. Then we went in the courtroom, and that's when they showed all the text messaging. And when they said they were presenting that, she turned around and looked at us with fear in her eyes. I guess she didn't think that they were going to pull all of those messages up. Did you feel like that? Yeah.
You know,
that picture was taken up in October. So when he dressed up like a comic book character, I'm like, this is so taken out of context because I had pictures of me as a princess too on that website.
Exactly. Everybody takes pictures like that comic strip girl.
Yeah. And
there's a lot of them that do.
And I did like a video of me in that costume, and I was practicing for the sci-fi convention that was going to be coming up. So, you know, I guess they were trying to throw anything they could at me.
Right.
And it's like, I didn't remember a lot of what they had showed, so it was like, I told my lawyer, like, I don't remember a lot of it.
Right. There's thinking, there's just some things you probably just blocked out.
Right.
You know, and it's just can't remember.
Right.
And maybe you don't want to remember, you know?
To be honest, I don't want to remember, and it's like, it feels like I'm a victim, but it's like I'm a part of it, but I feel like a victim, and I don't know if
you are. You are, sweetie.
But at least he kind of told me what we're dealing with and how we're going to handle it, and that to just stay positive, and he's like, don't worry. I'm thinking in my head, how can I not worry? This is my life. But,
the best thing to do is just be honest with Mike, you know?
Right.
That's the only way he can defend you the best he can is if he knows the truth, and
exactly.
And then, you know, we can work with that.
Right.
And then you know what to expect, you know? I mean, today kind of blindsided everybody, and it's important because you wasn't honest with them.
Yeah. And I'm like, I was completely honest with him, and I'm like, I was on a lot of medication, some that weren't even mine, and so I know this sounds crazy, but I don't remember making those texts, or sending those texts, or having any of these conversations. I wouldn't do that normally. And
yeah, I know. So, well, you know, let him know all of that. I mean, he's going to do the best he can, and that's all we can hope for, you know. So,
he knows that, because I told him.
Be positive about it.
It was Betsy. I'm still shaking.
Yeah.
And it's like, I told Mom that I'm just like, those were pictures that are taken out of context. I was in a costume from October that I had posted in May. You know, how is that relevant to anything? And I have pictures of me as a princess too on there, but no one knows.
Right. Yeah. Well, that'll come out. We'll be able to argue that.
Right.
We're going to explain all of that if need be.
And like, he had told me, he's like, well, we have a plan, and we had talked about it, and our defense is going to be the battered spouse syndrome, and he knows what he's doing, and I put all my trust in him, and I know that he'll get me the least amount of time possible.
But I just think it's so crazy that she's sitting there saying that she feels like a victim, knowing that she literally just, not even in the same month, killed her mom, orchestrated the whole thing. She knew she had been planning it for years, but she somehow still feels like she's the victim. And she still maintains that same position to this day that, yeah, even though I was a part of something, heavy emphasis on the a part of it, she really views herself as a victim, more so than the other actual victims, which would be, first and foremost, the dead person, Dee Dee, and Nicholas, who thought he was doing a good deed and rescuing somebody that needed help. But yeah, she of course is always going to view herself as the ultimate victim, and it drives her crazy when people start thinking and using their actual brain to be like, maybe you're really not.
Happy that your mom is not here to abuse you anymore? Yeah, but at the same time, I'm not happy that she's dead. No, I didn't want that. I know it sounds strange to plan something and go through the steps to make it happen, and then, but at the same time, not want it to happen. We painted each other's nails, and I acted like everything was fine. We had just recently gotten into an argument, and we had made up, and I said I was going to be a good girl. And then when she went to sleep, I guess I hurt her feelings or something. And she said, I'm starting to feel more relaxed. Don't hurt me. The last word she said to me was, don't hurt me.
Do you remember your last words with her?
I did. I did go to the kitchen, and I gave her a hug, and I told her, I love you. And I remember holding a pillow that she slept with, like, every night, and crying into it and apologizing to this pillow as if it were her, and just saying, I'm so sorry and I love you, and just taking in the scent of the pillow. Because in a sense, it's like saying goodbye.
No mention of medical abuse, no mention of unnecessary surgeries, none of that. Why would that be? Why would they automatically go with battered spouse syndrome? She didn't even think about Munchausen syndrome by proxy. There was no medical abuse at all. There was fraud, yeah, for sure. And she was definitely a willing participant. But, you know, Gypsy is still the same as what she has always been. And I think these phone calls, when you compare them to how she behaves today, no changes whatsoever.
Fair that he is incarcerated for life for killing your mom and you're out?
Well, I'm sure that we both have a lot of regrets. All I can really say is that I did my time. He's doing his time for his part. And I wish him well on his journey.
I want to know what you guys thought about these phone calls. What was the weirdest part for you, or the most, outrageous? Let me know down in the comments below. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and also share this video if you would like to help support me and my channel. Thank you to Trixie Lane for allowing me to share these on my platform and to go over these with you guys. Thank you, Trixie. I will see you guys on the next one. Bye.